The recording? Okay. All right, is everybody in the room, Deb?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's begin. I want to talk, well, tell me who's in the room right now.
Jay Scurria, Amy Rivera, Ted Azus, Deborah Richardson, Katie Doyle, court reporter, Phil Moto, board's administrator, Andrew Sackstetter, Thomas Rabakowski, you, and Richard Wade.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, Tom, can you explain everything to me on this case?
Wayne, why don't you address
You
yourself?
need to do the introduction first.
Oh, okay. That's why I asked who was in the room. I'm Wayne Miller, board member.
I'm Amy Rivera, board member.
Ed Agus, board member.
Deborah
Jason
Richardson, board's administration.
Jay Scurria, Department of License and Inspections.
Thomas Rabakowski, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections.
Philip Motto, Board's Administration.
All right, anybody going to testify in this hearing? Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Please respond to me.
Yes.
Yes.
Jace, take over.
Okay, this is BBS case number MI-2022-005371 for 303 North Front Street. For the record, can you please state your name?
Andrew Sackstetter.
Thomas Rabakowski, City of Philadelphia.
Okay, all right, let's start out. Tom, give me a rundown on this case, please.
So this case involves the property at 303 North Front Street. It actually is involving the shared wall between 303 and 305 North Front. The issue in front of the board is that it was declared unsafe. According to the appellant's appeal form, repairs that appear to be requested must be made by/through adjacent 5-story property 305 North Front Street, not owned by the applicant, because the repairs require bolting, bracing, or anchoring a wall to a building, but the wall area is questioned above the roof line of my 2-story building at 303 North Front, so there is no structure for me to bolt, brace, or anchor to. So to respond to the appeal, this involves a shared party wall or a shared wall between the two properties. I'm petitioning to the board to grant the variance to give the owner the opportunity to obtain a make-safe permit for the repair of the wall and work conjointly with 305 North Front Street in repairing this wall, or to ascertain a survey where this wall is not their responsibility and provide that report to the department within 90 days. I'll share my screen. I'll share my screen with the board so that you can see the exact what the properties look like to assist in aiding the property. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
So I'll cut right to the chase. This was a photograph that was taken of the property roughly July of 2021. The property at today's hearing is the white building, the 2-story, the one on the left-hand side where the cursor is. The multi-story building is to the right. It's the 5-story. It's very grainy, but you can see the deterioration of the shared wall between the two. It is the one with the delaminating stucco and the brickwork between the two properties. With that, the department rests.
Okay, Andrew, do you want to speak?
Yeah, I would like to speak. I provided the board a copy of an engineering report that was delivered to me by the owner of 305 subsequent to when I filed my appeal. Hopefully that was made through Phil Motto available to the board to review. As I understood the citing was that the wall was separating from adjacent walls, what I heard today was that the stucco on the surface of the shared wall is what's being cited, which is not how I read the complaint that I have in front of me from the city, or the citing I have from the city. So,
No, you are correct, sir. It is the condition of that sidewall in that it is delaminating and separating, plus the stucco work. So it is encompassing that wall face itself.
so the engineer's report who reviewed 305, which is also cited and is cited for multiple issues aside from this wall, interior structural issues, from a licensed professional engineer in Pennsylvania, says that that wall is stable as a party wall. I suspect that the wall separations, because there's references to changing face wall headers and so on and so forth, is the way the face brick is attached to the party wall, which I don't believe I have any connection to, just as I asserted that I don't have a way to anchor the vertical party wall to a structure to stop movement, bowing, or anything else, since I don't have a building structure at the elevation where those anchors would need to take place. The engineering report goes on to say that if, after continued observation, there appears to be movement in that party wall, that the repair would be by star bolts through the wall into the 305 structure. Again, not something that I can undertake, but understanding that it might be necessary. So I still reserve that I don't know how I would overcome the structural issue. I can understand the new complaint of failing stucco. That would be a new matter, I think. But I don't know that failing stucco presents an unsafe building condition either.
Tom, can you respond to that? What can he do? What, if he can't get into another property? Is that what the problem is?
Well, the problem is this is a 2-story structure next to a 5-story structure. And the conditions of the 5-story structure are above where 303 or where 303 airspace is. So getting to this wall and repairing this wall would encompass either some sort of method on accessing this wall over 303, or getting permission from 303 to set up something on the roof to access this building. But the claim of the department is that this is a shared wall. The wall is shared at 303 and 305. The only way that we would ascertain or get or comply it is if 303 provided documentation from a surveyor saying, hey, I don't own this wall. My deed, I had a surveyor come out. It's not part of my structure. It's not even part of my wall. I don't own it. We would remove the violation accordingly and cite 305, which we have already done, but we would go solely is seeking enforcement against 305. Mr. Sackletter, or I'm sorry if I pronounced the name incorrectly.
Sackstetter, but that's fine.
Okay, it's great for telemarketers, same as mine.
Yeah.
So my question is, have you had communications with 305? Are they looking to make repairs? What are they, have they given you any indication on what they were planning on doing with their building?
Yes, so Fred Santini, who is the property owner, is the fellow who actually provided me the copy of the engineering report that I furnished to the board. It was done for him. He and I are in touch with each other. In terms of that report's interior requirements for joist replacements and joist shoring and that kind of stuff, that's been undertaken. The engineering report does not suggest any changes to the common wall, and his permit to repair the face walls, the Front Street face wall and Water Street face walls, which appear to be separating, are being held up by Historical Commission because the building's in the historic district and they want to be sure that the wall is reconstructed literally brick for brick for window sizes, openings, etc. So he has not been able to procure his permit to fix the facade walls yet.
Okay.
Apparently it's applied for.
Okay, so my recommendation to the board is still on the table. It's still that, within 90 days, we see either some sort of progression in, ascertaining a permit for the repair of the wall, as there is still material, there is still a separation, there's something there's fear of something coming off of this wall and potentially landing on the roof of 303. So we would
But
be
I'm sorry, but that's not what I was cited for. I mean, the language, it may be what you're saying now, and I won't challenge that. I'm just trying to respond to how the notice was provided, which says the exterior walls are not anchored to supporting and or supported elements, are not plumb, free of holes, cracks, or breaks, and loose or rotting materials, and not properly anchored or are not capable of supporting all nominal loads and resisting all load effects. So in terms of supporting loads, the Pennsylvania Registered Engineer says that that is not the case. It is capable of supporting the loads, but should be monitored. Anchored to supporting and or supported elements. This is the one that I object to, because I wouldn't be able to anchor that wall to any structural element in the points of repair. And regarding whether it's plumb, free of holes, cracks, or breaks, well, it is not. It is free of holes, and I cannot challenge. You are correct. There are cracks and breaks in the plaster, the stucco plaster surface of the wall, but structurally, I don't agree that there are cracks or breaks in the wall itself. The separations are very clearly, as you showed in your picture, between the facade walls and the party wall, which is a common problem in Philadelphia brick row fronts. But I can't fix that. That's a row front. That's a face wall repair that has nothing to do with the separating part, separating wall.
I was kind of under the impression that the separating was the stucco coming up and the potential for that to fall.
It says separating of walls.
Yeah, it was hard to tell whether the brick is also separating from the facade
Well,
wall.
the engineer's report doesn't mention that the brick is separating. It just, but I know L&I's violation letters have terminology that they use all the time. But I think the deterioration, I think in their violation, their little excerpt on the right describes it better, where it specifically talks about the party wall.
the condition, so on the notice, and I'll share my screen so everybody has it. I believe it's in the appeal paperwork, but I'll go right to it so I don't waste your time. There we go. And I'll share it so that. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it says condition in violation, shared wall with 305 North Front Street, deteriorated, comma, separating, comma, and unsafe. So it doesn't just say that it's separating, it says it's deteriorating as well. And that deterioration is the delaminating, the amount of stucco that's pulling off of the wall. There is a fracture that is between the brickwork and the stucco work, and that we want to make sure that that doesn't separate and pieces of this wall come down on your property, sir. That's ultimately the goal, is to make sure that something isn't going to fall off of this 5-story building and land on the roof of a 2-story building. So I think the next, or the remedy, or the position of the board, or me to petition to the board, is to give the opportunity to have the engineer or an engineer come out to the location, specifically address this wall, and also a surveyor that surveys the properties and makes the determination that if this wall is not yours, is not 303's, that it is solely the responsibility of 305 to repair this wall, we would remove the violation per that surveyor's report. But those are the two documentations that I would petition the board that we would need to rectify the violation, other than a permit for the repair. But if we weren't going to get a permit for the repair, we would have those two individuals provide a report to the department and comply the violation accordingly. And my petition to the board is that that documentation be presented to the department within 90 days.
So I'm going to waive your recommendation for surveyor. I've had this property surveyed. This property is a piece of the city of Philadelphia striking. I know exactly where the property lines lie, and the party wall is indeed a shared wall. There's no contest there. So there's no reason to delay this process based on surveyor and adding survey costs to the system. So
Thank you, sir. That is very rare for somebody to come back in a hearing and say that, but
I acknowledge it's a shared wall. I know where the property line is.
thank you.
Has the owner of 305 indicated the timing of the historic commission, the process there, and does the 90 days that has been mentioned, does that allow for that to be resolved?
I don't have a time frame response from him. He also has an appeal in front of the board. He also has a real estate attorney handling his work, because this is much more complicated regarding interior structural issues. And he also is addressing the facade wall, front wall and rear wall repairs, which are, he tells me, held by historic commission.
Is this all, have you seen any documentation stating that, or is this all word of mouth?
All hearsay.
Okay. I'll reserve that. I can't speak on it because it's somebody else's property, but
Yep.
okay.
And we agree. I can't speak to it other than to say that he did furnish us the engineering report, which I believe you have available to you to share if you'd like. And if I were to understand that what I'm being asked to do is to remove loose stucco and repair and properly reinstall plastering on the wall because of that condition, which I don't find to be well described in the condition in violation, if the board wants to establish that that's what's required of me of the shared wall, then I will undertake that as my responsibility, my co-responsibility with the property owner. But as it's related to anchoring or all the other elements that are here, which appear to be the structural elements of supporting the wall, I'm asking for relief of that, as I can't support that wall structurally from my property. I can repair the exterior surface over top of my roof. We can erect scaffold on that roof. I did it before I built the building 20 years ago, so that stucco is deteriorated in 20 years. We did all the stucco patching then. It can be done again. But I need to understand that that's the limit of what I'm responsible for, and not structural repairs to the shared partition, shared party wall.
And I don't think that we can make that determination. I assume that the engineers, subsequent engineers report will address that.
That engineer's report's in your hands. Is that possible to present?
Yeah, the violation does not ask for an engineer's report. Often the violations do ask for an engineer's report. So I don't know that an engineer's report is needed. So Tom,
Why is
I think Andrew's asking if he just applies for a permit to remove and repair stucco, will that suffice?
So it says, if the board is saying a permit for repairing the exterior surface, then that's what they would ascertain, and 305 would have to anchor it to the building per their engineering describe. That I would go on the recommending of the board, but I have it that the wall itself is deteriorated, separating and unsafe.
Tom, do we know that the brick on that wall is bad, or we're just saying that the stucco is bad?
I can see from the photograph that I've included in the packet in 2021, and then throughout the packet, and I'll, once I get to it. Try to see if I might have a current or a more up-to-date photograph. So I'll spin this one. So this is the photograph that I have here. And you can see that the brickwork above this corbel or above this area that's pulled out, you can see the brick where the stucco has been applied, and over on this one area over here, it looks like the brickwork is kind of weather beaten. So that would have to be described, that the new stucco or the new finish that was being applied to this wall, that this wall was capable to support the weight of that stucco, of that mesh and that coating, because in essentially you're adding more weight to a wall that has an issue.
Okay,
So that what you call corbel is actually was a bump out that was done when this property was conjoined to the one adjacent. 301, 303, and 305 were originally one owner. That's the bump out from an old chimney, metal chimney stack out that's been capped. Presumably, if we go back this time, we'll remove it. The reason why the brick wasn't stuccoed above that was that metal chimney blocked us from stuccoing it at the time. The chimney was subsequently demolished. Yes, there is stucco that has separated and removed from the building. That's why I'm not challenging that stucco can be repaired or needs to be repaired. I have no problem with that. I don't challenge that. If that's the limit of what this is, if this is making this wall watertight with proper stucco application, then, and we can limit this repair requirement on my behalf to that, we're good. As to
And
whether
I can speak in terms of 305. Yes, the department is seeking enforcement against that owner to make the necessary repairs.
Yep.
So in that, with those respects, then yes, I fully have faith that the repairs to this wall will be done in an acceptable, according manner. But for today's hearing, it looks like there is a separation. Maybe that is just the stucco. And with it being a shared wall, maybe the proviso on the board would be to have that the stucco being applied to that. But we want to make sure that that wall is able to support that additional weight. It does look like the brick facing has been weather beaten, and I don't know if that brick facing is able to support a new wire mesh or a means and method of attaching the new stucco to that wall.
And the engineer who did the engineer's report
why would we,
weigh in on that?
go ahead.
No, I was saying, can the engineer who did the engineer's report weigh in on that specific question?
I'm certain that we can request him to provide a specific answer rather than his general statement, which is in the report in front of you. So that says the wall is structurally sound and not in danger of movement or collapse and should be observed, blah, blah, blah. We haven't looked at that report yet, but it is the last page, I think page 7 of that report.
So with that said, I would ask that, again, I'm still going with the extended time frame of 90 days. Typically for an unsafe, we go with either 30 or 45, but I'm willing to extend that to the 90 days, as it does take a little bit of time for all parties to get involved. As far as the engineer, maybe he can re-look at the wall, or look at his report, and the report being vague, and address those concerns. If he or she feels that stucco is appropriate, then again, the department would issue the permit accordingly for the application of the stucco to the wall to remedy the deterioration, and then the structural repairs would be on 305.
Okay, here's my question. This is, okay. 303, why would they finish the stucco now before they find out if the brick wall in 303 is good? What are you doing to 303 to make sure that they get their engineer's report to make sure that wall's stable? Are they doing anything? Because I don't want to create double the work for 303, stucco it now, then the guy comes in and has to tear the stucco off to see if the wall's good, and then he's had to re-stucco it again. If I'm wrong, tell me. I don't know.
Essentially, you're not. If they come back and say that structural elements have to be added to the wall to stabilize it, then they would have to either install the stucco over the supports, or find another way to weatherproof the addition or the supports that are added to this wall. But that would all be under the guisement of design professionals.
Okay, now the thing is that 305, okay, what time frame do they have to take care of that wall to see if it's structurally sound?
305,
Yes,
according to my records, there hasn't been an appeal filed to an administrative board. So as far as the department is concerned, they've already exhausted their time frame. So actually, the department is seeking enforcement by another venue.
Wow.
okay.
Wow. I don't think my neighbor knows that
Well,
or feels that.
well, the thing is that, you know, I'm looking at reasonable thinking that, you know, he should have a time frame that's less than what your time frame is. So you can't do anything until he does his. So he, you know, so what did we give 305? Did they get 90 days, or did they get 30 days to get this done, and they haven't complied? And then they're gonna have to be told that they have to comply, I guess. I don't know what else we're gonna do.
Okay, so Chairman, I can't speak on the time frame, as it's a totally different jurisdiction. What I can say is I'm petitioning 90 days. It does take a little bit of time to get something scheduled with the other entity.
Okay,
I'd be willing to go as far as the board wanted to go out, and even to the point of it's to be stuccoed after the structural work is done to 305.
Correct.
That
I agree.
I'd be willing to say that, because that way
okay,
it's all encumbered on the structural repair done first.
correct. I agree. Tom, I agree with that. I think that because, you know, the thing is, it's whether it's a shared wall, whatever it is, they both have to do something, not to make someone else do the stucco or something else twice. I just, you know, so that's a good compromise if Andrew's good with that.
Gentlemen, I think that's some of the most reasonable logic that I've heard on the table all day. That's fine with me. As I said, I guess we all recognize that I'm responsible for waterproofing and proving that the wall behind the stucco isn't bad, and that the stucco is new and is good, and I'm good with that. And my adjacent property owner has a structural issue he's got to resolve. So yeah, I'm good with all of it. Of course, I'll have to see the language of the order as it's written to make sure there's no loopholes, but in the understanding of how we are discussing this right now, I'm completely in agreement.
So that leaves it pretty open for a while.
Yes.
Well, yeah, till 305 gets moving.
Yeah.
Yep.
305 struggle with historic is worrisome as hearsay. What's even more worrisome is that there's no appeal filed on that, which I've been told repeated times that there is. So that I'm really concerned about my neighbors.
I
legitimately.
believe with the documentation that he will be receiving, there might be some movement.
Yeah, because obviously there's a legitimacy question for me with my neighbor. I don't know him personally well. I mean, I got to know him through this process, unfortunately.
If you could speak to him, that would benefit everybody involved. But yes, I can speak that the department is seeking another line of enforcement.
I absolutely will, because I keep inferring to him that I've lost the tenant for this building for more than a year. The loss of revenue because of this has been very significant for me. So this is not a happy, I'm no happy camper, let me put it that way.
Can I just note that I have looked online and there is a set of drawings and a report to the Historical Commission in March of this year for 305.
What's that say? Abe?
It's just drawings and there's a report. Just
So
talk.
Is the wall good or is the wall?
he may have submitted it to the Historic Commission prior to submitting anything, but I do not have anything officially under review by the department.
He wants to remove and reconstruct brick facades at the front and the rear. Reconstruct a roof deck and a pilot house. Doesn't say anything about the sidewall, but again, I'm just
Nothing
doing a
about the
quick,
sidewall.
read through. But there
Okay,
is
sure.
some sort of a submission to the Historical Commission back in March.
Okay.
I believe
Okay.
that both 305 and I were under the impression that the separating walls was indeed the connection between the facade walls, which is apparent, and the party wall. And that was the anchoring and or joining issue, which has been why I objected to this to begin with. Had I recognized that this was a surface stucco issue, I think my approach might have been very different a year ago.
Sure, you lost all that revenue, but I understand I'm sure you would have had a different trend of thought on that. You're losing money. It's terrible.
Yeah, and it's just not how the violation notice read. It doesn't say anything about stucco. It says structure, anchor, bowing, level, plumb. I mean, that's not a waterproof wall finish siding. So,
Okay, we clear on what's going on, Tom, and everybody else? Does anybody
I
else
am.
have any issues? Okay, good. Andrew, you good with it?
I am. My question is,
Right
will
now, I
I?
know you want to see the language. I understand. Yeah. great.
Okay, yeah, that's my question. Will I see
Okay.
instructions following this, and what's that time frame?
Tom,
The timeframe that I'm proposing is once the structural repairs are done to this wall, then 305 is responsible for stuccoing the wall adjointly.
I'm sorry. All I meant about time frame was how quickly will the order from this hearing be reduced to paperwork so that I have it in hand.
Assuming the commissioner agrees with us within a couple weeks.
Okay. I mean, originally this was tentatively scheduled for November a year ago when I filed the appeal, and that's the way it popped up. So I just want to get an idea, knowing that, we're working in a different world of timeframes than we have in the past. A couple weeks is great.
Yeah, and this will be very general. It's not a very detailed,
Response. I understand.
response that you'll get from us. But Tom, one question is, do we want to, once the structural, report has been finalized or whatever, is there a time frame in which Mr. Saxtetter should expect to do the stucco repairs? I don't think you were specific about that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Ted.
Once you've basically said all bets are off until such time as structural response. I'm I'm getting the wrong terminology here, but you didn't give a specific time frame for him to do his work at that point.
So I don't have a specific time frame because if 305 obtains the permit for the repair of the wall and gets it anchored correctly under the guisement of a design professional, then 303 can come in and do the weatherproofing and stucco of their side. But being that the repairs all hinge on 305, that subsequent timeline is basically on 305. What I'm saying is that we cannot seek any kind of enforcement on 303 under the guisement of the board, being that his repairs are encompassing the repairs of 305. So there is no time frame. It's that there is documentation and there is an enforcement action that is going to be pursued against 305 that would hopefully spur 305 to do what they need to do to repair their building. And then after that, work together with
303 can do their
303
job.
to do what they need to do.
Okay, it's fine.
That's good. That's good. All right, Andrew?
That's fine with me. I appreciate all of your time dedicated to this sincerely.
No problem. No problem. Okay, you're receiving something in a couple weeks.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you pause it?
I paused it.
Okay,
Says that
okay,
it's
that's
still
right,
in-
because the
says
light's
that
still
it's still in
blinking.
Progress.
I'm Wayne Miller, board member.
Amy Rivera, board member.
Ted August, board member.
Deborah Richardson, Boards Administration.
Jay Scurria, Department of License and Inspections.
Thomas Robakowski, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections.
Philip Motto, Boards Administration.
All right, everybody's there. Anybody going to testify in this hearing, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Please respond to me.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Jace, take it away.
Okay, this is BBS case number MI-2022-002165 for 1906 North Lithgow Street. For the record, can you please state your name?
Wendell Limadorno.
Thomas Robakowski,
Okay.
City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections.
Okay, Tom, could you tell us a little bit about this case?
So this is in response to an unsafe designation by the department with concerns to the front wall. There has been bracing installed to the front wall of this property. According to the appeal paperwork that was filed with the department, makes assertions that it's in conjunction with unpermitted work that was conducted at 1904 North Lithgow. I can speak that the department is seeking enforcement by another venue, by way of another venue against 1904 or the owner against 1904 North Lithgow. But that has no bearing on today's proceedings. Today's proceedings is to verify if the violation is accurate and to basically give time, if warranted by the board, that this wall needs to be repaired. I'm going to share my screen and make it for time reference. I'm going to just show the picture. The property was declared unsafe in conjunction with the shoring and the bulge of the front wall, which needs to be repaired. And my recommendation to the board is that a permit be applied for with the department within 90 days. With that said, I'll share my screen and then the department would rest.
Okay.
So as you can see, this is a photograph of the property. The property in question is 1906. That's the property here with the yellow front with the two braces added to the front of the property. The property that the department is seeking enforcement by another venue is this one with the OSB affixed to the front of the property, and that is 1904. With that being said, I'm going to rest.
Okay, so the appellant, would you want to, can we hear your side of the story?
I mean, well, I think everything was said perfectly. I mean, what happened to the wall was actually in connection of what happened to 1904. They took their wall down and didn't brace ours or didn't tell us. And then our wall just started to fall apart. So we went ahead and braced it ourselves.
Okay. Is 90 days good enough for you?
Yes, I am working with someone. I do have an engineer. I do have a contractor. So they are working on pulling permits the upcoming week. So I'm doing everything that I can possibly can to get this corrected.
Great.
Sure. Fine, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions?
Nope.
Tom, like you said, they already have the scaffolding up to do the bracing and all, everything looks good. So, okay, so we're fine with it if you guys are fine with it.
Okay,
You good, Tom?
I'm
Okay.
good.
All right, okay, all right, good luck.
Thank you.
So much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, is everybody in the hearing room?
Mr. King is still connecting to audio.
Okay.
All right, I think we're good to go, Wayne.
Hello?
Okay, everybody here? Is that Mr. King?
Yes.
Yes, it's King.
Okay, we ready to get started? Deb?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Wayne Miller. I'm a board member.
I'm Amy Rivera, a board member.
Ted August, board member.
Deborah Richardson, Boards Administration.
Jay
Philip Motto,
Scoria,
Boards
Department of
Administrator.
License Inspections.
Thomas Rabakowski, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections.
Okay, is that everybody? Our actions here today are just to get this into the record. We're under the understanding that this building was taken down. So I don't know if there's any testimony needed, but for the sake of the owner, we'll go through it. My name's Wayne Miller. I'm a board member.
We went through that.
Wayne?
We went through that.
Okay, we went through that? Okay, all right.
When did you let Tom
Okay.
present?
All right, Tom, tell me what you got.
So Thomas Rabakowski, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections. This appeal or this hearing is following an appeal that was filed on August 22nd, 2022 in response to a eminently dangerous violation that was issued against the property at 4825 Woodland Avenue. At the conclusion of today's hearing, I'm going to be making the recommendation to this board in that this matter is moot, in that this property has already been placed out to bid for demolition by the department and demolition has commenced on this property. The appeal that was filed on August 22nd is in response to a notice of violation. I'll share my screen. The notice of violation was issued against the property on February 12th of 2022. That notice of violation speaks of an inspection that took place on February 11th. It speaks that the appeal needed to be filed within a certain amount of time frame. As that appeal was not filed within that time frame, the city placed the property out to bid per demolition specs. A permit needed to be in the system, or communications needed to be with the department, or corrective matters needed to be done on this eminently dangerous structure on or before February 21st of 2022, which that was not conducted. So again, the property was placed out to bid for demolition. That demolition permit was issued, and to cut to the chase of the matter, that demolition permit was issued on, I'll go right down to the actual permit. That demolition permit was issued August 16th, 2022, prior to this filing. So that makes this filing untimely, and the matter is moot. With that being said, the department rests.
And just to write into the record, this is BBS case number MI-2022-005215.
I don't know, Mr. King, if you want to say something, you're welcome to say it, but there's nothing we can do here at this committee meeting, at this board meeting.
Okay, well, I have a little something to say if you will give me the
Okay.
privilege.
Absolutely, go ahead.
To whom it may concern, Your Honor, on the weekend of August 21, 2022, I was informed by the neighboring business that the inspectors had been out to my building at 4825 Woodland Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19143 to set up demolition. I went down to the municipal service building to inform them that I have a contractor for demolition and rebuild and would need a little more time since my contractor had been ill and I had 2 deaths in my immediate family. I do in agreement with the contract. On August 22nd, 2022, I received a case number for a hearing HA 2022003441 and was told that I would receive a hearing date in the mail. The clerk also stated that the receipt that I had would stop the demolition until my hearing. I had no prior notice that the building was to be demolished on Saturday, 8/27. A neighbor called and said that the demolition crew was taking down my building. I went directly there. The supervisor said I need to get a temporary restraining order. I am respectfully requesting that if the demolition by the city contractors that I incur only the cost of demolition, that the fees and interest be waived or abated to allow me to work with my contractor and secure a lender to rebuild. Make reasonable payments to the city for the demolition.
So
That's
I can, I'm sorry, Mr. King, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you still doing your statement?
I'm done.
Okay, so as far as the demolition costs, this is not the venue for that. You would be receiving an invoice for the demolition of the structure. Once you receive that invoice, there is language at the bottom of the invoice for filing an appeal to the tax review board. That is the appeals board that would render a decision on how much that bill would be and what you would have to pay and how long you would have to set up a payment plan through the revenue department.
Tom, can I ask a question? What does it cost to demo a house?
That's an unknown price per se. They don't have a set price. What it is the contractors will go out to the location. They will survey it. They will place their bid through the procurement process with the city, and the city takes the lowest bid on this
Okay.
property or any demolition that we do. We take at least 3 bids. This one might have had more than that, and we take the lowest one.
Okay. The thing is that Mr. King said something about there's fines and different things like that he would have to pay on top of the demolition.
So when Mr. King receives the invoice for the demolition bill and all the associated invoices, he can appeal the bill to the tax review board. While that appeal is ongoing, the city, if you do not make payment arrangements, yes, the city would incur or assess fines and fees and interest on that work that was done at the property. To stay that, you would file the appeal with the tax review board while that appeal process was going on. Then they would render another bill by way of the administrative board, and then set up payment arrangements with the revenue department.
I can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Wayne.
I can't hear.
Wayne, your connection is fading out. We're barely hearing any audible.
Let me see what I can do. Hold on a second.
That's better. You're fine now.
Okay, the thing is, must have been in the gulch, down in the gulch. But the thing is my question is then finds.
Don't understand.
You're gone again, Wayne.
You're garbled again, Wayne.
I'm sorry. So,
Still garbled.
okay. Okay,
saying like they're doing demolition, but it don't look like it, right?
This demolition has started.
Wayne, do you want to try to speak again? You're in the meeting again.
yeah, can you hear me now?
It's still garbled, but
It's
Here.
better.
possible.
Okay, my question is there two bill for the demolition of one of the things in penalties? But he has to pay not the demolition things, and then he'll go to the what review board to do that?
He has to file an appeal with the tax review board. Any abatement that's done by the city or
Tax
that
review board.
has to be filed with the tax review board, yes.
Okay, the only advice that I will give you, Mr. King, if I would apply for that because of the situation where you got a restraining order but the process was too far along. I think the city should be able to at least be reasonable with that because of it wasn't.
Sorry, Chairman, there wasn't any reference to a TRO being filed. There was reference that a request that one be filed, but I don't believe there was a temporary restraining order ever filed to stay the demolition.
Okay, I didn't.
The TRO was never filed because when they came back Monday, the building was more than halfway demolished. So I didn't see why a restraining order would be in effect because they had already begun and the building was most of the way down.
So at this point, again, this isn't the jurisdiction, but I would, when you receive that invoice, you can always choose to appeal the bill to the tax review board.
That's Mr. King. That's what I would do if I was you. I would appeal that taxes and fees or fines and penalties, whatever. I would do that. But at this board, we can't do anything about that. So, so that's where we're at. And, so
Okay,
you're gonna
well,
have to take care of that.
when I get the bill, I'll work on that matter. But as far as the
Okay.
building being demolished, most of it's down, but I still have, some things on the lot. I don't know if they completed it or not completed it. And any idea what this cost would be with the city? I'm trying to get my finances in order and something that a variable that I don't know.
Mr. King, if you would, I have your contact information. And what I'll do is at the conclusion of the hearing, I'll be happy to, or if you want to take my number down, it's 215.
1 second, please. 215
686
686
2583.
2583, and you're Mr.
Tom,
Thomas?
yeah, I'm the only one in the office. You could speak to me and I'll be happy to tell you what the cost will be, if you just call me tomorrow morning.
Okay, when can I expect the bill to come out?
The demolition contractors have within 30 days to finish the demolitions of the properties. You should be receiving the invoice between 60 and 90 days.
Okay, and no legal actions or nothing will be done during that time period between the time that the building is demolished and I get the bill?
I'm not sure in what legal action you're speaking of.
Like interest payments and interest fees.
Interest and fees and those things.
So
And the property to be sold from under me. I'm trying to, hold
we
on to.
we don't own the property, sir. You still own the property.
All right. But there will be a lien against the property.
Unless, if you don't pay the demolition costs, yes, it would go as a lien.
Question, if we get the bill in 60 days, 60 to 90 days.
Well, who else is speaking? Because you weren't sworn in on the hearing.
Oh, that's my son listening.
Okay, so Mr. King, unless he's testifying, then we would have to make him part of the record. But as far as the bill and everything, I'd be happy to discuss that with you off record, as this is not the venue for that.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay, all right,
I do have another question.
certainly, go ahead.
Do you have any guesstimate of when they will be completing the demolition?
I don't have that as previously stated. The demolition contractors have within 30 days to complete the demolition. And then another contractor comes in and does stucco if that's required. So as far as the demolition or any of that, you can keep in contact with me and I'll send out the invoice or send out whatever documentation that you would need. But knowing when that would be done and setting an absolute deadline date, I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, well, I understand what you're saying, but I would appreciate a little communications with me, instead of, after the fact, I'm finding out from the neighbors and, the people in the neighborhood. When you have my contact information, nobody ever said anything to me. Everybody know but me, but I'm the one that's responsible.
I don't know what to tell you about that. Yeah, so. I'm sure you were notified that you were in imminent danger of the building falling down, right?
Yes,
Okay, so that, and I guess, I don't know what goes on from there, but you were notified then that it was, you had so many days that are gonna take it down. So that's, I guess, when the process begins, soon as they notify it.
but
And,
I had some extenuating circumstances.
I understand, I know, I understand that. I'm sorry for that. Yes,
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay.
So, all right, get in touch with Tom on that thing, and I would, if I was you, I'd certainly appeal the fines and penalties.
All right.
Okay, all right, good luck. Talk to you guys.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Okay. Can you hear, am I coming in clearer now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, everybody. Okay. Is everyone in the room?
The appellant is still connecting via audio.
Okay. Let me
I'll
know when
let
he's
I'll
in.
let you know. I'll let you know when.
Thanks, Aim. Thank you.
Phil has to just verify who it is, okay?
Good afternoon, sir, with the iPad. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Could you please identify yourself?
My name is Richard Bay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much, sir.
Is that,
Okay, Wayne,
okay,
go ahead.
everybody's, okay, here we go. My name's Wayne Miller. I'm board member.
I'm Amy Rivera, board member.
Ted Agus, board member.
Deborah Richardson, Boards Administration.
Jay Scurria, Department of License and Inspections.
Philip Motto, Boards Administration.
Thomas Rabikowski, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections.
Okay, anyone testifying in this hearing today, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Please respond to me by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay, Jace, take it away, pal.
Okay, this is BBS case number MI-2022-004841 for 330 South 43rd Street. For the record, can you please state your name?
Richard Bay.
Thomas Rabikowski.
Tom, Tom, you want to start us off here with what's
So-
going on with the case?
What we have is we have a property that was declared unsafe following an inspection of the front porch of the property. The property in question is 330 South 43rd Street. The appellant or the appeal that was filed with the department on August 4th of 2022 or received by the department on August 4th of 2022 indicates the reason for the appeal. Violation was in the process of being corrected and has I'm sorry, it's very hard to read, but violation was in the process of being corrected or completed and has now been corrected, pictures attached. That's not an appeal to the Board of Building Standards. The appeal to the Board of Building Standards is whether or not the violation is accurate and whether or not there is a variance to be granted by the department on a time on making the repair or whatever the abatement action is to be required. This is a unsafe property. It requires a permit, requires a make safe permit. That requirement is spelled out in the notice of violation, which is attached to the appeal. With that being said, the area inspector has been out to the property. I'll cut right to the chase and go right to the picture of the property. In the appellant or in the appeals paperwork that was filed with the department, there are photographs that are attached to the appeal filing showing work had been done to the property. You can see that there is a support bracket added to one of the support members. You can see that new framing has been installed on this front porch, which did require, as a structural repair, did require a permit issued by the department to a licensed and insured contractor. So with that said, I'm just going to share my screen and then rest. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
And I'm just going to rotate it just to show the picture. So the picture on the right-hand side that is dated or date stamped July 6th of 2022 shows the deterioration of the structural member of the porch. And then, as you can see, the inspector was out there on August 10th of 2022, and there is new framing added to the support post on the front porch of the property. There is definitely work that was done to the front of the property, and it did require a permit. My petition to the board is to grant a variance to obtain a permit within 30 days. With that said, the department rests.
Mr. Bay, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I actually was the one who stripped that beam. I was the one who stripped it of all the rotted wood because I was going to address it. If the inspector had looked on the back of the porch, you will have seen that I had bought new pressure treated wood to make the corrections. at the time when the violation was issued. I called one of my favorite contractors to do the work. He promised me that he was going to do the work, but he didn't show up on the very last week. I texted him and he said he might not have time to do it. And so I proceeded to do it. I am very versed with doing construction work. I worked in a foundry for 3 years where we did mostly exterior work. So I'm familiar with these things. If I'm required to take a permit to do it myself, I will do that. I have no problem doing that.
Okay, that's the issue, just that there's not a permit for the work that was done. So you would have to pull the make safe permit.
Okay.
Tom, can he provide his own drawing? Since he owns the property?
A engineering diagram was not specifically spelled out. Permit services might ask for a drawing, might ask for an engineer's report, but by all means, he could submit a drawing to scale for the type of repair that was being performed to this porch. They may require it to be done by a licensed and insured contractor.
Okay, so Mr. Bay, do you think you can?
I can
pull that
provide
together?
drawings. I have architect friends who can draw.
Okay, perfect.
So I can provide drawings, but I'm very familiar with the work. I did the work. In fact, I did the work alone. So it's not a big deal for me. It was something I was going to address, but I have so many other things that I'm trying to address elsewhere. So I wasn't able to get to it before the inspector came. I stripped all of the rotted wood myself. So I'm concerned just as the department is concerned.
Okay, so why don't you can apply for the make safe permit with your own drawing? And as Mr. Robakowski said, they may come back and want an engineer, but that needs to be submitted as soon as possible, but you have until 30 days to get a permit.
Okay, very good.
Okay,
Okay,
That's good.
okay.
All right,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
AIM, can you hear me? Did I
We
go
can hear you.
out of? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, good.
That board recommends granting an extension of 30 days to obtain make
Wait,
safe.
can we finish the recording or stop the board member?
Ed Addus, board member.
John Dimes, Fire Code.
Debbie.
Deborah Richardson, Boards Administration.
Jay Scoria, Department of License and Inspections.
Philip Motto, Boards Administration.
Okay, is that everybody? All right, the thing is, anybody in this hearing is going to be testifying in this hearing, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Please respond back to me with a yes.
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 Okay, Jace, go ahead.
All right, this is BBS case number MI-2022-005062. 163 Conroe Street. For the record, can you please state your name?
My name is James Campbell, architect for the project. Jack?
Jack Bienenfeld, developer, American Living Concepts of Manioc.
Eric Horowitz, project manager for the project.
Okay,
Excuse
who's
me.
going to present the case?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in. Jack, could you spell your last name for me so I have it for the record, please?
Yep. B as in boy, IENENFELD.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, whomever's going to present the case, go ahead.
Good, I certainly will. My name's Jim Campbell again. I'm the architect for the project. What we have in front of us today is a relatively simple issue, I think, and that is we are rehabilitating a historic school building in Manioc. And as part of that renovation, we're changing the use from a school into a residential apartment complex. And as part of that work, we'd like to maintain some historic doors that open into the historic front stairwell. And so what we're requesting from the board is consideration. We'd like to put a water curtain on each side of these historic doors and electronic hold open devices that would allow the doors to close should the fire alarm go off. What this allows is light connections into the hallways that we're creating. So we think it'll be a nice amenity and maintain part of the historic aspect of the building. Debbie, I submitted plans. If anybody would like to take a look at those plans?
I think we've seen the plans. Do you have pictures of the doors themselves?
Yes, I submitted pictures of the doors as well.
Sir, I'm sorry, this is Lieutenant Dimes Fire Code. Did you say there'd
Yes, sir.
be a water curtain on each side of the door, each individual door?
Yes, sir. Right.
How many
here-
doors are there?
Well, we're looking right now at the third floor doors, right? And they will lead into a new corridor there. This is the first floor doors with the side lights and transom above. And this is the second floor doors with, you don't see the doors there, but they're going to be put back.
I see him.
Jim,
Similar
all right.
situation.
Are,
Right.
are any of the doors on closers? Or will they be?
Well, yes, of course, sure. What we'd like to do is we'd like to put these doors on closers, right? And again, have them automatically hold open, in case there's a fire and then shut.
Real quick, they're the common area doors. It looks like the hallways. What about the individual unit doors you're making this an R2, so they're going to be apartments, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. All the apartment doors, of course, are all new. They're all rated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The only thing we're looking for here is some consideration to be able to keep this part of the historic fabric. This common area, which really leads to the main stair as well as the elevator, will be cleaned up and made nice. And there is exterior light, which of course is coming through and I can show some additional photos of the exterior if you'd like to see. Brings light into this common lobby space as well as into the corridors.
Is there one door for each story? It's 5 stories, right? You have the main one down in the I guess the first floor. You show us the one on the second floor. Is the rest of the floors similar?
Well, there's only 3 places where we have this. It's on the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor. Those are the 3 photographs you just saw.
Okay, got it. Okay. Oh yeah, I see all 3. All right. Okay. Now the one's going into is that a basketball court?
Yeah, it was. It was right, exactly. That was the basketball court on the 3rd floor of this building.
Okay.
And you can also see the stage back behind.
Yes,
Really
I see it. Those doors are solid, right? Those doors there are solid.
They are solid doors. Yep. Of course, they're not rated. They're not in a rated frame.
Okay.
They are on closers, as you can see, but we need to upgrade that hardware.
Okay. And so the issue is they're not a rated door, right? But,
right.
Okay.
And they are the main separation to the stair tower.
Yes.
Yeah, to the front or north stair tower, right, Amy?
Okay.
Do you guys want to caucus?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna caucus. If you have anything else to say before we go into into the caucus, feel free to do so.
Okay, I'm fine. Jack, Eric,
Okay.
anything I missed?
No, it's pretty,
Cut and dry.
self-explanatory, yeah.
Okay, Deb, can you put him in a waiting room, please?
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Recording is started again. We're back on the record.
Okay, is everybody in the room?
In the room. I think
Okay.
Jack Banfield has dropped out.
Okay, we got rid of Jack, so we have two. All right, no problem. Ted, you said you had a question?
Yeah, Jim, a couple of clarifications. The photo that we have of the second floor,
Right.
are the
Oh,
doors
there's
not,
Jack.
are the doors not on the?
Right. The doors are not on there. Right.
Okay.
They were taken off.
And what do those doors look like? Do they look like the first floor or do they look like the third
They
floor?
look like the first floor.
Okay. And then the question, I guess, so right now what we're looking at is just the side, well, they're not side lights, they're solid sides and the hinge.
Right. On the second floor, it's solid.
On the
Right.
second floor, okay.
Yeah, but there's like glass transom above there.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's wire glass on the first floor or second, on the second, yeah, on the second floor transom. Is there on the first floor or is that just,
It's just regular glass.
okay, plate glass of some kind, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you gonna keep the doors on the third floor?
Yes.
Them
Yes,
two
we-
solid doors?
Right. Yes, we'd like to, sir. Yep.
I thought you'd probably change them. They, look like the other ones, but okay, no problem.
The idea there is really to hold those doors open. So, again, put them on updated closers, hold them open with magnetic hold open devices so that
Right. Yeah.
in the event, right, they would close.
Okay, well, what we're gonna require is the water curtains on both sides of the doors.
Right.
First, second, and third floor.
Right.
Okay, anything else, Ted, Amy? John, if you have anything in the, are we good with that?
We are.
We are. Jack, you're good with that? Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, Aim?
Yes.
All right, okay, all right. You got the variance for that with the water curtains, and you're gonna have a 13 system throughout, right?
That it's a 13 system throughout. Exactly.
Okay, all right. Okay, good luck.
Good, great. Thank you very much.
All right,
Appreciate it.
all right, talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody in, Deb? Deb, everybody's in?
Yes, everybody's here. The recording is started. We're back on the record.
Okay, I'm Wayne Miller, board member.
Amy Rivera, board member.
Ted August, board member.
Gary Gewirtz, project owner.
Brett
Debbie.
Harmon Deutsch Oler Architects.
Hold on, we got everybody, is Debbie there?
Yes.
We're
I'm
going out
here.
of Sequence. Okay, Deb, tell us, put your name in there, all right? And anybody else, before the appellants.
Deborah
Okay,
Richardson,
so we
Boards
got everybody
Administration.
there? Okay. Jay,
Philip Motto, Boards Administration.
you say your
Breaking up.
All right, Wayne, you're breaking up. We'll finish it from our end. Wayne, we can't understand you. We'll finish it from our end.
Jay Scaria, Department of License Inspections. You want me to just start with the BBS case number?
Yeah.
All right, this is BBS case number MI-2022-005344 for 4050 Main Street. For the record, can you please state your name?
Gary Gewirtz.
Brett Harmon Deutsch Oler Architects.
Jeremy LeCompte, Apartment Deutsche Architecture.
Gary, can you spell your last name for the court reporter?
GEVURTZ.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Since we can't hear Wayne, I think I can swear you guys in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Raise your right hand and please say that or respond to that.
All of us?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
All right, we got 3 yeses.
Yes, I do.
Okay, whoever is going to present, go ahead and present.
Okay, I'll share screen now. Everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the property that we're here to present to you is 4050 Main Street. This is an existing 2-story structure, which is within the floodplain. We have since secured zoning variances to add 2 additional stories on top of the existing building that you're seeing. And we're proposing residential uses at the 2nd through 4th floors. The addition is in place. The ground floor of this building will be predominantly commercial. And this is in an industrial commercial district with a history of commercial use. And we intend to maintain that use on the 1st floor. Let me jump to. So as you know, the commercial building is required to be dry flood proofed, whereas the residential portions will be wet flood proofed. The issue that this presents, since we're dealing with an existing structure with an existing floor elevation, it's difficult to comply with the current the design flood elevation requirements. You'll see the blue line on my screen represents the design flood elevation would have to meet in order to comply with the current standards. And our 1st floor elevation is this dashed line below my cursor here. So design flood elevation is, let me flip to the section. Essentially 8 feet 9 inches above our 1st floor elevation, our existing 1st floor elevation up here. So there are several constraints associated with this property. One, it's historically designated, so we are not able to take down this existing structure and reconstruct it in a way that complies. We have to maintain it and maintain the existing facades, the front Main Street. And in addition to that, when we took this project through the zoning variance process, it was specifically requested that we maintain a commercial use at the ground floor of this building. It would be in keeping with the context on Main Street, Manayunk, and that was important to the community, which is why we have these dry flood proofing requirements and why we're asking you for some relief here. What we are proposing is a hybrid system. So we would like to dry flood proof the commercial area up to an elevation of 36.85 feet, which is the line I've highlighted in red here. It's about 5 foot 8 inches above the sidewalk, depending on where you take that dimension, and about 3 foot 2 inches above our existing 1st floor elevation. It aligns with most of the existing sills, not all of them. I'll back to the elevation. So this red line in the building elevation represents where we're proposing to stop our dry flood proofing strategy in line with these window sills. The door openings and the windows that have deeper sills would receive floodgates to prevent the water from entering at a lower elevation. So our refusals are essentially for not fully complying with the dry flood proofing requirements of this commercial area. As well as, let me go back to the plan. Because we're setting this this new datum, we essentially have wet flood vents within our walls that separate the commercial areas from the residential areas of the building. So the intent there is that if flood levels exceed that elevation we're designing for, It would essentially enter the wet flood vents and relieve the pressure on those interior and exterior walls and structurally stabilize the building from that point.
Does that discharge into any areas that are part of the path of egress from the upper floors? Or
We are proposing, yes, those would connect to this lobby that you're seeing here. So yes, some of those.
Which is already wet. That's a wet
yeah,
lobby.
I see. Yeah.
Right. I should also say that we're actually not proposing that strategy for the entire commercial area. We're proposing that this back portion, which we're viewing as more of a back of house space, be wet flood proofed along with the residential areas, with kind of the understanding that if there were in these areas that could be relocated to the dry flood proofed area so they weren't damaged. So anything in that back space that would be wet flood proof would ideally have mobile equipment that could be relocated. Also, since our original application expanded the parking area in order to reduce the amount of impacted commercial space in this building. So our initial application showed a parking area essentially stopping in line with this wall where my cursor is. And we essentially eliminated a lot of space that is currently commercial in the existing building and created more non-conditioned garage to mitigate the potential flood risks. I should also say that we did work with the owner's structural engineer extensively to evaluate whether it was possible to meet the code requirements and retain floodwaters up to the design flood elevation. And he confirmed that the existing walls cannot retain that amount of water. And in fact, even at our proposed elevation, we're still going to have to do significant structural alterations to the existing walls to enable them to retain that amount of water.
So even, sorry, even if there were guards at the windows of, between the red line and the blue line, the walls themselves would not be able to, survive.
There would have to be significant alterations to the exterior walls and the foundation, and complex ones in order to make that happen. And as I said, we have other constraints here as well, because this is a historic building and we need to maintain the existing facades.
We also have very poor soil conditions at this location. Basically most of our new foundations supporting any structural steel, we're going down with micro piles about 32 feet to reach a decent bearing condition. And as Jeremy said, even to reinforce our existing perimeter walls here to that red line, we're still going to be doing a really large mat slab that also goes down and ties into those walls. I think it was about six feet. So it was pretty significant just to meet the requirements of floodproofing at that red line that we're requesting.
Amy, you're on mute.
What about the Pico vault in the electric room?
This will be dry. Well, up to the same elevation.
Okay. But
so there's a submersible transformer. Sorry.
But the fact that they're not going to be dry per code, how does Pico feel about that?
Actually, Amy, we were talking to Pico and they were actually recommending what did they call that, Jeremy?
Submersible transformer.
Yeah, they were recommending that.
Right, and we're most likely going to need to locate the disconnect above the flood elevation. So all that'll be above the vault, and the submersible transformer will be at that first floor elevation.
Yeah.
So I can show you that.
And we did comply. We did our best to comply with all the venting requirements putting them on, opposing walls, while still trying to maintain the historic facade along Main Street. So we did our best. I think we actually added some additional venting for the system over and above what was required.
And what's the history of the building? Like, I'm assuming it's flooded before. And do we know how bad it was, how deep it got?
Well, maybe I'll answer that question. I've owned this building since 1983. And up until the last flood, the most water that ever came into this building 3 times over that span of time. Literally inches. This last one was, needless to say, was a 500-year storm. So water came in, but up until then, it was negligible because the building sits up off the street, and that end of the street, you can really walk out the door to the left, and within a few feet, the floodwaters hardly ever reach there. But the street is flooded, obviously. But again, because of the elevation of the building, water has only come in 3 times before this last one. Total 4 times since 1983.
And only inches, right?
Yeah, just enough to bring the mud in, but not nothing that would be life-threatening at all.
And we did design our hybrid system off of that history, basically, and brought it up higher.
And what is the system? Is it something that employees would have to run out and set up?
No, the way the vents are situated, they would be, Jeremy, can you go to the section, please? We're going to have wet vents that start right at the red line. So if water was to get above that red line, then we want the water to come into that commercial space to begin to equalize that space. But everything, and then we would have one-way drains, like a duckbill type of a drain that would sit low. So once the waters began to recede, any water, if it did go above the red line, would then be able to leave that dry flood-proof space and go into the wet flood proofing and recede out. So,
But what's stopping it up to that red line? Just the exterior walls?
We have exterior walls that are going to be reinforced, and then we have a few floodgates at any of the openings, Amy, that are below that red line, including the front doors would have a floodgate system. Doors.
All right, water's rising. How is the floodgate stopping water from coming in with their door there?
Oh, there's going to be a gate either in front of that door or behind the door.
And is that something that's manually set up, or?
That's a manual. That gate would be manual because that's a manual gate.
When we've had floods in Manayunk, they're not instantaneous. I mean, we generally have a warning. You can generally watch and report on the river, so it wouldn't be a problem where you wouldn't have the time to deploy these.
Yeah, to deploy them. And it should not be a big elaborate system because if we look at the plan, I think, what do we have? Maybe 3 sets of doors that will have rail components for these gates to be able to slide right in.
This door, the residential entry.
No, that wouldn't have it. That's a wet, that would be wet. It would be the door right below where your cursor is going into the commercial space. We have a door there, which we don't need, but we did place one there. And then, so you have that one, you have the one lower the opposite of the main entry doors going into the lower space. That would be a gate right there. And then there's a gate to the right on that door where the bathrooms are.
Yeah, there would be a total of 4.
Yeah, so I think it's,
possibly a fifth.
yeah, maybe 4 to 5 small gate deployments at those locations.
And is the wall getting waterproofed, or you're saying it's getting reinforced, but that doesn't stop water from coming through a stone wall?
I mean, water has never come through the stone wall. It'll go through the openings. Come in other areas, but it won't. The stone wall is too thick, and the water recedes quickly. Once it floods, it's usually just a 24-hour event, if that.
And we would still do all floodproof materials in these spaces as well, so that if water did get in, we are at least have materials that could deal with it.
Out of curiosity, does receiving a variance or not receiving a variance, does that come into play in any way in the flood insurance sort of application process, or is it sort of like irrelevant?
I'm not sure how to answer that question, because I mean, the building will be partially flood proofed from all practical historic measures, will be dry, with the exception of what we just witnessed last year. So I can't answer the question. I don't know.
I don't think we expect to have any bearing on insurance. It was more for securing permits.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I thought the question was, will there be some different kind of rating for insurance? I didn't understand the question.
Well, yeah, I'm wondering whether, the fact you receive a variance, it sort of, I don't know, improves the way the flood insurance, rating is evaluated or whatever. I'm not obviously familiar with the process, so curious.
You want to caucus?
Yeah.
Okay, put us in Deb, put the guys in the waiting room.
No other questions? Everybody's okay?
Yeah, if they had them, they would ask them. All right,
Okay.
all right.
Jeremy, how big is that space, square footage? What's that say? It's 4,000. Okay.
Yeah, 4,348.
All right, Jason, Jeremy, you may have to stop sharing screen to get put in the waiting room.
Okay.
Well, I'm still here. Yeah.
You're all still there.
Yeah.
What happened?
Should we leave and then
No,
come back?
let them put.
No,
you in.
don't put you in a waiting room. Just wait.
Do you need them put in the waiting room?
Yeah.
Yes, Deb, please.
Recording has started again. We're back on the record.
Wayne?
Yes, I'm here. Everybody in?
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, guys, we have a problem with this. The thing is if we grant this variance to you guys, then we're gonna have to grant variances to everyone else, and we have an issue with losing our flood insurance from FEMA. You're gonna have to try something else and then come back. I know it's only preliminary, So, I don't know what else you can do outside of making everything dry, but you got to get creative, guys, because we can't jeopardize, the flood insurance for the city of Philadelphia from FEMA. That's just the way it is. We were thinking of ways to do it, how to do it, but that's what you guys got to do, not us. So, sorry that we can't help you, but that's just the way it is. Guys, got any questions or anything?
Wayne, so wet flood proofing a commercial area is just never an option essentially?
Right now, for us to make that decision, no, it's not an option. We're not gonna put the city in jeopardy.
Yeah,
with-
we understand that and
In terms
definitely.
of, strictly, well, hang on one sec. In terms of your question though, Jace, my understanding from what you said early on was there's a percentage of commercial space that would not have that requirement. Is that true?
Right, so you would need to look into ASC 24 and the NFIP. If you meet those requirements of the non-residential space, then you have the option of not applying that, but you would have to go back to the code for that.
So if I can elaborate on that. So I think part of the issue there is if we look at this holistically as a building, it's predominantly a residential building and we would comply without any issue. But I think that that's a little bit subject to interpretation about whether we're only considering the ground floor or the entire building as far as the percentage of commercial.
Right, it'll be the entire building. So because of that first floor building, unfortunately, because the ZBA required for you to be, because you have the parking and you have the commercial space on the first floor level, that percentage is over what's allotted. So that's why you have to have that dry flood proofing on the first floor level. Like I said, I can't tell you how to design. That's the problem.
I mean, we also batted around the idea, if it were a completely independent structure, you might not have to touch the base building.
You know, I guess I'm not processing or understanding everything. Are you, if we were to provide parking, wet floodproof and parking on the entire first floor, would that be an issue?
You have, because it's considered commercial on the first floor level, you have to dry flood proof that whole first floor.
But yes, Gary, if we didn't have commercial, those uses would be permitted to be wet flood proof. They have to be. But we can maybe take a look at trying to isolate this part of the building. Are you insinuating we call this break it into two separate buildings? Is that what you guys were thinking about?
Yeah.
They were thinking about.
We were wondering. No, that was one
Right.
thought. But again,
Yeah.
it's a naive thought on our part. So
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there was a project built on the other side of Main Street that's in a flood zone, and they took the first floor of a old warehouse and they built apartments above it, but they did put the parking on the first floor.
What was it, all parking?
It was, I think it is all parking there.
Okay, I mean, like I can't really weigh in on what they did for that specific application, but I have to go by what's in front of me. And I talked to the floodplain manager on this one too, and they agreed with my interpretation, as well as the building plan examiner that created the refusal for you.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time digesting it. The fact is, if we comply, but we allow effectively the first floor has no commercial use, is totally
commercial use. You have
well,
commercial spaces.
Is it a matter of changing the zoning?
So if you change it to
or if we,
I can't give you different scenarios based on what you're proposing on here. You have to give it to me on a plan for me to research all the NFIP policies.
We can discuss that, Gary.
All right.
We would need to secure an updated zoning permit if we want all residential.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right,
Disappointing, but
sorry,
thank
we
you.
couldn't be more helpful, but
All righty.
okay,
you for your
guys, we'll
time.
see when you come back. All right, have a good night. All right.
Okay.